And now you have sound. Okay, now I think you should have sound because my phone started to have to talk to me. So now I'm just checking in. Does that work now? At least I figured out what the problem was, which is really good, but I think I figured out what the problem was. Now you should be able to hear me. So I'll just wait for someone to tell me yay or nay for the audio. Okay, awesome. Thank you for confirming. Okay, great. Let's get back. So, let me start off then with kind of the beginning of what I already covered so that we have that part in here. Basically, we're testing some retrospective tools today, and I just wanted to have a few different tools that exist and look into some of those templates that they have and see if these tools actually help you facilitate good retrospectives or not. So we started off with this RetroTeam app. So this is kind of the this is kind of the very simple way to start to doing retrospectives. So I created one with just a few things, what went well, what to improve. Awesome, thanks, Denise. Thanks for confirming. So what went well, what to improve? Extremely simple structure. I think if you're just starting out, it's good to start with something like that. So then you have the votes here, which is awesome, right? So you can have different people voting, and I was voting on my second screen just to have kind of a way to see that there are two people here. So I connected as a separate person here. And then now this kind of the next part, we did brainstorming. We could use the timer for every part really of this, which is good because say we are now in discussion on something, we can also start a timer and set the timer for how much time we're spending on discussing something. So what I was saying just before I figured out that there is no sound is that while it is super easy, you have the columns, right? So you have the columns with all of the different things here. It is not visual really. It kind of looks like everything is all together. What went well, what do we need to improve? It's not very easily visually understood for me. And then the other thing that I was saying is that when you have quite a lot of people, or even say 5 people, 8 people, and every person adds their idea or a couple of ideas, you will end up with so many different items. And what I think is extremely important is to be able to group them, right? Especially if you want to group items into from different parts. So if you group them here, that's great. We can add a new group. What I find is also helpful is actually grouping things from different columns. And that's why kind of one of the things that I think is missing a little bit if you're trying to see maybe which areas or which categories have good things or bad things at the same time, to have that visualization of what is happening. And then we can add things here, actions, sprint schedule. Okay, so I added an action here, and if we just open it up, we can only edit it. So we can add all of those actions, and that is, I think, it, right? We can export it to a PDF. Okay. Okay, and you can vote on actions as well. So if I start voting again, or can I vote on actions? See, that's That's confusing, but it's very simple. I think which is good. What is good about this tool, it's like super simple to use. You can just get started and that's it. It doesn't give you any information or any facilitation guides, or doesn't really tell you how to really use it. But you can say, okay, we're done with this retro. And I guess you go back to your dashboard. Okay, and then you have this retrospective here, and you can create a new one. Let's try just a different type, just because I want to see. Let's do a custom one. Okay, and what you do is you create different columns and you do the same structure, and then you can add an action column at the end. So if we were to use, for example, this retrospective, it already has all of the structure here. What I find interesting is though you do have the structure that explains to you every category here. Once you start it, there is no explanation. Yeah. So, I mean, very simplistic. I think it can be a good tool to use, extremely simple to get to use it and just jump right in. Doesn't give you like a lot of features really to help you organize your thoughts. So, simple to use, maybe lacking some features. Let me jump into this one, Retro. And I believe that there are a few things that I wanted to look into in some of those specific tools. So Retro, what I found is that they have a lot of features, like a lot of features there. And I was kind of wondering, well, why do you need so many features? And I just wanted to show you really what those all features are. So I'll just add this little thingy here to, there I go, to see. So what I went to look into the features, how it works maybe. Yeah. Just ate lunch here for the show. Welcome, Orlando. I still need to eat my lunch, but right after the stream. Okay, yeah. So you see, when I scroll down through that, there are so many different things. Integrating with Jira, okay, cool. Move cards across boards. There's so many different features. And you know, one of the agile principles we often talk about is simplicity is very important. So in this case, not a lot of simplicity, lots of different things happening. Have even insights, lots of different things. So let's try it out. Let's see how it actually works. So we can start with default board, just because it already is here. And in the same way, you have what went well, what to improve, and action items. This seems to be the retrospective format to do, which is, I guess, fine, but it also is extremely limiting. At least they have the action items, which I really like. So you can customize the comment cards. Hello, this is a comment. Okay, and now we can see that there is a comment. We can vote on item. Okay, and I saw that there is a feature for anonymous retrospectives. I'm not sure why do you need the down voting on the cards. I feel that it is, so the way you would vote, say you have lots of different ideas, right? People kind of coming up with things to improve, and you can't do everything. So you want to vote to see which ones you would want to use, or maybe which action items are the most important for the majority of people in the team. So I would assume generally that you would just want to add a vote to something, because kind of saying, hey, I'm down voting your idea, it's a little bit weird. So I don't know, I guess you can definitely use that maybe with a team that has a good trust relationship already created. You have a health check, right? So can you move cards? Okay, well, this one's good. Can you group them? Doesn't seem like it. What else can you do? Duplicate, move cards. Okay, switch type. Export to Jira. Oh wait, I can't. Okay, so it actually now allows you to track it. Okay, interesting. So you say open in progress done, rejected. We disagree. We don't want to do that. Okay. Maybe you just don't put it there in the first place. Okay, I see the health check. Interesting. You can use different templates. Squad health check. Team health check. Collect feedback anonymously. Okay, so you can start the survey, and now everybody has an opportunity to actually comment. And so at the end, I assume you would have results that are consolidated. Submit. Okay, so it gives you the spider chart here, which is nice. I guess you have the comments here as well. You have the averages. A nice little thingy to have here. And then you can go to board. You can reset the health check. I don't know if you see in here. You can reset the health check, and I guess you can try it out. To start again. Seems like you can only use one on one team, which makes sense, I think, which makes sense because you don't want to change the way you evaluate your team every single time. You want to have some traction. You want to be able to track some of those metrics. Now, what I've noticed here is also icebreakers in games. Set the mood. Okay. Yeah, you can see there are lots of different functionality here. Break the ice. Oh, okay. So that actually goes to a different site, different page. Huh. Okay. And you can download the image, retrospective game, and you can download the image. I assume you can, let's just put it on my desktop. And you can add it then here, I assume. Say this is, and then you can add an image poll. Wait, you can have a poll in here? Oh God, I'm so confused. I don't know about you, but there's so many different things. And I think it's great to have lots of different things to do. But it kind of takes away from the retrospective itself. Let's rate our Scrum Master. Rate your Scrum Master. Somewhat satisfied. No? Start poll. Okay. Okay. And from what I can understand, I cannot, well, that's a default board. So you can say, okay, this is our board for retrospective number 1 for sprint 1, and then you can go back, look at the action items, which is good because you can have the action items. What I really like to do at the beginning of every retrospective is actually go back to the action items that we have agreed on in the previous retro, and to update the status. Basically, we are asking, did we do this item? Did it actually help? If it is something that is ongoing, do you want to continue doing it? Or Do we want to change it to something else? Do we want to try something different? So I like to have that opportunity to go back to the action items. So here you can do that, right? And then you say, okay, let me go back and we'll create another board, which also you can have lots of different things. You even have OKRs. Interesting. Okay, that I know. We value. Huh. Okay, and now you can create a different health check. Kudos. Okay, you have kudos. Great job. Well, maybe it's because it's me. I can't give kudos to myself. I assume that is why. Okay. You have polls that you can use, and yeah, you can add it to the board. I will be honest, it is a little bit confusing because there's so many different things that you have. So if I add a new board, let's use something super easy, such as start, stop, continue. Yeah, so it's the same, right? If you look back at the retro team, it is in the same way. If you just look at it, you have the same columns here. You just choose the columns. Yeah, I assume you can rename them and create your own retrospective. What I like about this is that you can move cards from one side to the other. So I think that's good, but then you can't really group them, it seems. You also don't have the timer. And I would say that I'd say that timers are more important in a retrospective than all of these other things. There's like a lot of things happening here and it is distracting. So in a way, if we're just using a simple board, having something like this with a timer, for me, it focuses much more on what's important in this meeting. But it has lots of cool features. Like, I'm not bashing any of the tools here. Just want to let you know I'm also not affiliated with any of those. Just kind of checking them out. You know which my preferred tool is, which is Miro, where I do everything, and I'll show it to you at the end as well. GoRetro, this is another one. And what was my comment about this one? Yes, so they say that they have 20 templates. And in the same way, I am curious to know. Max votes per user. Okay, that's good. I like the fact that you can limit the max votes. I don't think that you can do it here. At least I didn't find it. What is that? Okay. I didn't find it there. So this is very good. This is how you would run your voting session. You have all of these items in like a pool of items, and then you give everyone certain number of votes. I usually give 3 votes per person. Even like if it is a very big team, I would say 3 votes generally is fine, like between 5 and 10 people. 5 votes can be used if you have, or even more votes if you have more people, more ideas, and maybe less people, because that way they can really distribute their votes. And usually the way I do that is I kind of tell everybody, you have 5 votes, you can distribute them on the cards however you want. If you want to put all 5 votes on one idea, you can do that, you know. So okay, custom 3 columns, 4, 5. Let's do sailboat. This is something new. Makes us go fast. What's holding us back? What risks are our future, and what is our ideal island destination? Oh, okay, this is a different way to do a sailboat. That's not how I usually do that. Hide cards, disable votes, hide vote count, show cards author. Well, this one's good because you can do anonymous cards. So if I add a card here, then you can't see who that is. And I think that in retro.io, you can also do that. Like you can do an anonymous retro, which I mean, I wasn't looking for it, but it wasn't very obvious right away. You have a timer. Awesome. Let's put in 2 minutes. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Real-time overview. Okay. You can do a team happiness. Happiness score was updated to happy. Good for me. Okay. And in the same way, you have 20 templates from what I can understand, but it's just columns once again. So you have 20 templates. Can you move things around? Oh, yeah, you can. It seems like. No? Yes. Okay, you can move cards around, but what if we have 2 cards? Can we? Oh, okay. Yes, merge. Okay, okay, cool. So you can merge cards together, but I assume if you have a card here and you want to merge it with this, yeah, it aligns itself with the what risks are future, basically, even if it was sitting in a different column. Yeah. You can share the board, obviously. Our timer is coming up. You have the icebreakers. Show us your most used emoji. Okay. What's your favorite family tradition? Okay, so it's super simple icebreakers, which is nice, you know, have some questions ready for your team. Just kind of throw a question at them at the beginning, a tiny little icebreaker. I think that's great. It definitely works. Much easier. Just one question. You can add columns. So I guess if we want to say action items, we'll have an action item. Okay, and you can move this into an action item. Okay, and now it says, hey, I'm an action item. You can add a description. You can track the progress and even put a due date. Okay, some useful features there as well, which is nice. You can search, icebreakers. What else do we have? Export. Oh yeah, and I also saw that they do a sprint summary. So this is something new. You can do the analytics here. Well, I mean, these are not very useful. Like, I feel that these analytics are, why would they be how many cards you have or how many contributors, total votes? I think those are not as important. Happiness, I guess that's a good one that you can try out. In terms of participation, that's a good one, but also don't want to, you know, chase people during the meeting. Okay, and then you have the action items. It has its own tab. You have the description. Okay, and you can assign it to someone. So it's good because, as I said at the beginning of the retro, you can come back to this action items part, like page, and check what is happening with the action items. So it looks pretty interesting. And then you have the sprint summary. Let's guess. The most important metric on the sprint summary is going to be velocity. So add superpower, burn down chart. Who uses spreadsheets these days to track their work? I feel like it would be easier just to track it in like Trello, even if you don't use Jira or any other like fancy tools. Bump up the energy. Micro and macro. Okay, so I assume that you need to update it. Okay, so it works only with Jira. Okay, so if you're using Jira, I guess you can use this as an easy way to review your charts. You have these kind of charts already in Jira. So when they say sprint summary, here I'd say that I actually was excited about that because I thought it's going to be like giving you a template for what are the things that you would like to add into your sprint summary, like after the review. The things that I like to do is, you know, go back to see what was our sprint goal. Did we achieve our sprint goal? What were the deliverables that we have presented? Any feedback that we received, and some small things that kind of give us that overview of what happened in the sprint. If you want to go back and look at those later, really to give us some insight into what is going on. The charts themselves, I mean, they're great. But you can also find burn down in Jira. I mean, this one looks much better. let's not lie to ourselves. Yes, this one looks much better. You have the sprint tasks here. Yeah, Jira doesn't give you these, and at least I don't remember it giving you information like this previously. I think it can give it to you on Epic side, not on like single ticket with subtasks. Okay. Yeah, so the sprint report for me is not that. I mean, having that velocity calculated to help your team plan in the next sprint planning, that's great. But it's not just about how many items you have completed. I feel like if you're just looking at the numbers, it's not really giving you the information that you need. That's why I usually like to list out all of the deliverables that have been delivered, just kind of, or maybe bugs that has been fixed, actually giving more information about the work that the team did. It especially helps if your team is very hung up on the numbers and they look at their velocity and like, oh no, we need to split this item because we didn't finish, but we actually did the work, you know. So if there is a lot of anxiety associated with that, I think focusing more on the work that has been done and the value that has been delivered is more important than just looking at the numbers. Yeah. GoRetro, I did some really good things. You know, I really like that action items here. Very good board to always come back to, like the page with everything. So definitely helps. EasyRetro. Okay. What did I say about EasyRetro? Okay, what I wrote for myself is they say they have 100 templates, but I can only see boards with columns. So as we saw with all other tools, it is just columns generally, right? So if we add a board and we'll use an existing template. So yeah, they have lots of things. Oh, and they also have different languages, which is good. We'll use English here. Let's use speed car retrospective. Max votes per user. Oh, what happened? Okay, I think that's okay. Speed car retrospective 5 Retro Friday. Looks very familiar, right? We have just seen it in GoRetro. So with the add a board, yeah, you have a similar preferences. It's like very, very similar. Suspicious. Okay, so let's just create one. There are lots of different features. Okay, engine, what makes us move faster. Pretty sure we're slowing us down. I believe the race car retrospective has four quadrants. So if we add some cards, engine. Okay. To 100% here. What is slowing us down? Not enough time. Okay. You can also add, I saw a little emoji. Okay, that's fun. So you can vote and okay, it says, hey, okay, 3 remaining votes. Okay, you can actually vote several times on the card and then you can add a comment. Now, what do you do? Okay, so if you are, it's the first retrospective you ever run, what do? We have all of these things. Can I move it? Yes, I can. This is good. Can I group it? No, I cannot. Just set card color, change action item, change to action item. Okay. Now it became an action item, which we can say done or undone. We can assign it to someone. And assign change to text card. You can export it to Jira. Okay, so some things there. You don't have a timer here as well, from what I can see. Yes, you can. Where is it? Okay, you can add a timer, which is good. You can add a survey. Or you can use a predefined survey. Let's see that. How are you feeling today? Very good, good, not so good, or bad. How are you feeling today, guys? Put in the description in the chat what you're feeling. Let me say create. I have created the survey. Where is it? Or did it? Oh, okay. It took a little second. Okay, this is nice. This is nice. This is good to have it here. I would prefer than to just have it there by default, kind of, and you can remove it. Maybe you can do this when you create. Okay, so very similar features. Coming back to what we already see, if you look at all of these different tools, really, they all look very similar. They do exactly the same thing. I just wanted to open up my little board here on the side. Very, very similar. You just have the columns. It also doesn't really guide you through the retrospective, right? If you've never done a retrospective before, then you wouldn't know where to start. You know, you create a board and you can use an existing template, right? But then you don't know what to do. What do you do here? You can add a timer, but you don't have enough help with facilitation. So I think those tools are great. They give you some good things. For now, I'd say this one is my favorite, more specifically because they have the action items tab. I really like this one, but I don't think they have, yes, they have timers. It doesn't really guide you through the retrospective itself. So if you don't know how to run a retrospective, I feel that you don't actually have enough information to do it here. So I feel, yes, that says, hey, EasyRetro, just go ahead and do it. And I don't feel that it gives you enough help to actually guide you through the retrospective, because create 3 columns, you can literally create it in a Trello board. What's hard is that step by step, what do I do now? How much time should I put on a timer for the initial brainstorming part? How much time should I put on a timer for our action items discussion, right? Or how many votes should I give to people? So it doesn't really give you that step by step, like it doesn't really hold your hand. And I feel like if you know already how to run a retro, you can just use any tool that you really like using already. So I am going to obviously show you my favorite tool of all. I'm not affiliated with them, I promise. It's just, I really love it, okay? So let me open up a retrospective. And I can take this one. This is just a template I have, right, that you can get in the store, but it's not about that I wanted to talk about. It's just that in Miro, you have freedom. You can do whatever you want. In the same way, you can do the columns, right, you have here. What I really like generally is that you can add additional items or additional questions here to just give you a bit more of an, you know, just give specific questions to people, because sometimes being able to ask a good question really helps people come up with good ideas. And then improvement ideas were taken into the next sprint. So yes, it doesn't have all of the things that you would want, such as like you can't really track actions. But if you want to create your own retrospective, this is what you do, right? And you say this will be our retrospective for the next sprint. This is how I would usually do it. And then you do your thing, really. Let me show you an example of like an actual retro board. I will show it to you from afar because it's an actual, they're like real things written down there. So I'm gonna just zoom out so that you don't actually see the details. So this is just a board that I have created for one of the teams. So as you can see, it just keeps going. We had our retrospectives for different retrospectives, like for different types of retros we run. And sometimes it would be extremely simple for me, right? I would just say, let's just jump into the discussion if the team was ready to kind of talk about something, they had ideas. Sometimes I like to ask little questions like this. Hey, what do you think? Did we achieve our sprint goal, right? And then people can vote or remove apparently their votes. And that can give you like a way to do more of the vote, just collect some extra information. I cannot speak anymore. Then we have this, right? How did you feel about how the last sprint went? So you can put some of the little votes like this, super easy in the same way. So you are free to do so many different things in the Miro board that there are many things that you can actually follow up on, and you have all of the information all in one board. It also doesn't give you the way of how to run a retrospective, right? So it just kind of gives you an idea, and then once you know how to run a retrospective, then of course that's it. You can jump in and just do it. And same with these ones, they are a little bit limited, but you can definitely go with them because they do have some templates. But I'd say all of them are kind of similar generally, right? So if you want to have more of a guidance on how to run retrospectives, then you need to go somewhere else. You need to look for information. You can go read some books or things like that. And obviously, you can grab things like the templates I have on my site, obviously. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the things that I have, and those are all of the different retrospective types that I have created, and they all come with a Miro board, so an actual Miro board. And then I walk you through every step of the way. And so I tell you introduction. I give you exact prompts on what should you tell in introduction. I give you some, hey, powerful questions to ask during action time when we discuss action items, right? So there's some very good ideas here. Like here is an example of a prompt. I give you specific time limits to really guide you through the retro. And what I wanted to show here is that I now offer it in a bundle. So you can get actually 4 retrospective guides for the price of 3. And if you get 8, then you get 2 of the guides for free. So if you're interested, you can check it out here, obviously. And I think this is kind of what I was looking for in this retrospective tools. I think that maybe Retrium has more of that. Let's see, the Retrium, another tool that I just didn't grab it. And a toolbox of activities, guided facilitate. Yeah, I think that what separates this tool from others is that it is a guided facilitation. However, when I used it about a year ago, what I found, it is very limiting. Like it guides you, but it kind of forces you down a certain path. And I believe they also don't have a free plan. Yeah, they don't have a free plan. All other things seems to have a free plan, which you can really appreciate, right? Miro also has a free plan. So those are some of the things that I wanted to show and kind of show you how you would go about running a retrospective. So just a few things to kind of give you a general idea of how I like to run retrospectives so that you have it. Yeah. Just gonna show you some of the ideas I have here, talking about the fact that every retrospective needs a structure, right? So that you can control the flow of discussion, you have that consistency, people know exactly what to expect of every retrospective, so that you can focus on solutions and actions, right? So having a structure is very important. And then flexibility, this is where you have all of those different retrospective techniques. For me, the retrospective techniques that just kind of change the name of a column is not enough flexibility. It's very straightforward. It's kind of the same. You can get some different results if you are using different questions, but once again, you need to be familiar with powerful questions and how to use them and how to change them to create that flexibility. That's kind of where I feel the tools that we looked at today are lacking a little bit. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to show you. Please ignore the Master Retro poster. I no longer provide this course. So clear steps to create solution focus. And these are the things that I always talk about. These are the things that I generally recommend doing. This is the structure that I use, right? Review action items from previous retrospective. Start with that. That way your team knows that as soon as they enter the retrospective, you will be asking them, how are we doing? Did we complete our action items from the previous retro? So don't let them off the hook. Then introductions, right? Running the retrospective, all of those things. And then we're talking about actions again. We want to decide on action items to take into the next sprint. we are defining who will be driving those actions. And obviously, you're summarizing the discussion at the end. So very simple structure. And I guess this is where you have the flexibility, is when you run a retrospective the way you want. Yeah. And here's just a quick thing that I think is kind of missing in those retro tools. Different techniques are focusing on different topics, and you need to be able to choose the right technique for your team in certain situations. So it's not just, hey, I'm just gonna grab any technique. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you want to be focused. You want to help your team get to certain points without actually telling them those points. So you want them to get to the solutions and get to those ideas themselves. And for that, you can use different techniques, because they will ask different questions to the team, and that will drive their discussion, and that will drive that brainstorming towards the topic you want them to go towards. And you're not actually like putting an item on the board and saying, hey, I added this, let's talk about it. And it was interesting, a mentee from my mentorship program asked me actually this week, and he asked me, should I add items onto the board during that retrospective brainstorming to highlight an issue? And what I said is that in my experience, I didn't find it being very helpful, because the team doesn't actually take this item as their own viewpoint. So it means that they're not going to consider it as much as you would want them to consider it. And I think that's why here you would want to instead drive the discussion, facilitate the discussion in the right way, right? So just a few things here. Knowing that you need to use techniques for specific things, right? Past and future. Sailboat, it's about external and internal factors, right? This is about values. This is focus on action items. This starfish works really well with teams that are already working well. I would not use it with a new team, because it is harder for a new team to immediately come up with some action items. And squat health check, the Spotify technique, something that I use more of a team assessment. And you can also find it in my store. Yeah. So these are some things that I wanted to talk about. I will have to run fairly soon. There we go. But for those of you who are still there, let me know if you have any specific questions or anything. But as always, if you have questions, you can just put a comment on this video, or just on any other video. I try to answer all of the comments I see. And I always come back and read all of them. Just I don't always have time to answer them, because I want to give you very good specific answers, and I don't always have time to do that. So what I've been doing as well, if you're interested in what is happening with Scrum Mastered, where are we going, what are some of the changes, is I have been adding more content generally on my YouTube, on Instagram. I'm also answering some questions on Quora, so you can follow me there and ask specific questions. I try to give those extra answers, and you often can find those in my Instagram reels or carousels. I would like to stream a little bit more, so that was just a test stream. I just wanted to jump on here and just try things. You know, I love different tools. I love finding new products, new software. This is just something that I am really excited about generally. So it helps me kind of also explore something that I really like, that it might not be fully linked to that Scrum framework or agile, but just also allows me to look into something exciting. And what else? So the next time I wanted to look into the backlog management tools such as Jira. So I'll look into Jira, but I also wanted to look into other ones just to give an idea of how you can use different tools to help your team manage their product backlog, manage their workflow. And the next week we have a really nice video that is going to come out, not specific to Scrum. It's really about creating teams, how to recognize toxic environments, and how to change the situation and help your team grow. So those are some of the things that I have. The stream run a little bit late because I started late, but I appreciate you watching and being here and letting me know that we had no sound for the first 20 minutes of the video. But I would love to see you in the next stream. And yeah, that is it. Have a great weekend. It's Friday, and I'll see you in the next video and in the next stream. Bye.